Thomas! It's up for grabs now!
Magic ball from Bergkamp to Patrick Vieira!
Oh, would you believe it? Oh, right, what a way to get it!
Fabulous solo goal by Thierry Henry.
Champions.
Good evening and welcome to the Arsenal Lounge. I'm excited about this show. I really am. But let's get the boring stuff out of the way first. Yeah. So firstly, I'm going to introduce my co-host, my Tadash, another man with a tash. Shaheen, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm very, very excited and looking forward to the show today.
Shaheen, the board is back. Lee, the board is back, mate. Where is that board? That tactics board? What is that?
Yeah. It's Mikel Arteta's tactic board.
That is the worst backdrop I've ever seen, and it's back.
I'm sorry, some of us work, love. We're not lucky enough to work at home.
Man, I don't know how we missed that.
I thought he had his coaching degrees on there, but obviously
mate, they are his coaching degrees.
Yeah,
and swiftly moving on to the man that won't shut up and made us late. Everyone in the chat is saying it. I'm just saying it as well, Lee. Smooth bald man. Just like me, smooth bald man from a smooth bald lover. How you doing, Lee? You all right?
Yeah, I'm all good, thanks. But
I missed you, man.
Don't blame me for being late, right? Because I was here on time. Just saying it, But
listen, I'm just saying, everyone in the chat blamed you, man.
Yeah, I don't know why I keep getting blamed for things like that. I don't know.
I've missed you, Lee. I've missed you, mate. I'm not gonna lie.
Thank you.
That's all right, mate. And making a debut on the Arsenal Lounge, and this is my Greek sister from another mister, and I mean that because little do you guys know that our families' paths have crossed back in the day. We'll go into that in a bit. Sophie, how are you? Sophie Nicolaou from the Highbury squad.
I'm very well, thank you. Salute to everybody. How you doing? Thanks for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. I'm looking forward to this one. And in defense of my boy Lee, because I will never throw him under the bus, I'm the reason why.
Didn't have to say that. No.
My camera took a dump on me, and so I had to reboot. So I've got to stand up for my bro here. He wasn't the reason why we're late.
Oh, there you go. That's it. Building already, Sophie.
Well done, Sophie.
But listen, before we go into this, everyone knows about Lee. Everyone knows, where he's, who he is, and what he's about. But Sophie, I just wanted a quick getting to know you thing, right? Because, you're originally from London. You're clearly not in London anymore. You've been in the States quite a while, haven't you? So just what happened? How did you get there, and what are you doing out there?
Okay, so in a nutshell, I'll try and do it like a movie trailer because my career kind of brought me here. I was working for 20th Century Fox and Sony Pictures in London. And I thought, in order to kind of really progress and get the total experience of working in film and TV, I had to move to LA. And then luckily my job brought me over here. I moved to LA 2 months before 9/11, actually. And for me, it was kind of like fulfilling a dream and a dream come true. I was a publicist for domestic and international at 20th Century Fox, Sony Pictures and MGM. Worked on some incredible movies and with some amazing talent, traveling the world and promoting the films, and really got my bread and butter MBA aside from my education when I was looking after these people. So from a communications point of view, it was really kind of an incredible experience for me. Worked with some amazing talent from like Brad Pitt to the dude from Napoleon Dynamite to, Catherine Zeta-Jones, Lee Judges, of course.
Dickhead. Oh, God.
Brad Pitt and me in the same sentence, it goes.
Brad Pitt and armpit over there. Yeah, Jesus Christ.
Well, it was on a film called, you know why I thought of Lee? Because it was on a film called Snatch, which I don't know if you've seen, which is a really fun film.
Many times, Sophie.
Yeah, and I think Lee would do...
Benjamin Button.
No, not that one. And I think Lee would do well being cast in a Guy Ritchie movie. I think that would work quite well.
I agree with you.
Watch this space, by the way.
But I was covering football in London. I was on London Greek radio from in the 90s doing
LGR.
LGR, yeah,
Oh my
definitely.
God, in Wood Green.
In Good Green.
In Good Green, in Bones Green. Oh my God.
For all the Palmers, not the Palmers Greens, but the Palmers Greeks.
Yeah, and Dostok. Yeah.
So I used to go to the games, of course, at Highbury, and I do wrap up reports. And then it went from there to doing a pop culture show in the evening, where they wanted to aim it at second and third generation Greeks and not just broadcasting Greek. So did a lot of stuff with Greek talent and people like Anna Vissi and Gedi Garbi. If you know, you know. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. And then decided to take my own path and start blogging and podcasting quite a few years ago.
Man, and that's why Sophie comes across far more professionally than us twats with cameras. There you go.
I don't know about that.
Oh, come on. Like, we know it's true.
For yourself.
And for those of you that don't know, I didn't know this, but I used to play football with a lad called George Demetriou. Yeah?
Amazing.
And we were title winners in the Goba League in North London. You would probably know about that, Sophie. And played for a team called KLN. We won the league together. And he is your first cousin.
He is.
We're good mates. And I didn't know that.
He is. And I watched you. I didn't know that you were playing on the team, but of course I used to go watch my cousin whenever I could. He's a goalkeeping coach now, living in Taiwan. So our paths probably crossed without even knowing it back in the day. It's
I was
amazing.
the really good one on the right. That's how you would have known.
He
me.
said that you had mad skills.
I did.
I don't know about that, Sophie. I played football with him.
Oi, Shaheen, that you play football, is that what you call it? Anyway, let's move on now, because no one wants to know about us. Everyone wants to know about what's happening with our club, right? So let's just move on, Shaheen. Anyway, so thanks for that, Sophie. I feel like I know you better, and most people in here wouldn't have known that. So that's really interesting. We want to find out more about that in the future, maybe. But going on to our club now. So we had a game yesterday. We played Leeds. We'll do this very briefly because, in all due respect, it was only the Carabao. But we had a different side out yesterday. We had a few people making a return and vying for the first 11. So Leno came back into the side. You had Cedric on the right. You had Holding with White in the middle. And then we had on the left, it was Tavares, wasn't it? Was that right? Am I right?
No, Kolasinac.
Kolasinac, that's right. Kolasinac. And then in the middle, we had El Neni, central midfield, with Ainsley Maitland-Niles. And then we had Pepe, ESR, Martinelli. Am I missing anybody, Shaheen? I think that's everyone. Sharply, right? Anyway, and then Ketia, of course. Yeah, so we had them out yesterday. I watched the performance. There were some players that did perform well for me, and there were others that really didn't do themselves any favours. Before I go into it, I'd like to hear your take on it. We did win the game 2-0, so it's all positive. But Sophie, I'm going to come to you first. You saw the game yesterday. You saw the lineup. What was your thoughts on the game, and who maybe stood out for you, and who really just condemned themselves as some, a dead wood that we'll be looking to get rid of in the January window, if not summer?
Okay, so on our post-game show yesterday with Super Kevin Campbell, I was labelled a negative Nelly. Because
let's find out why.
As happy as I was that we won the game, I just find it a little tiring that some fan base folks start getting super excited again over Chambers and Nketiah. Please stop. Okay.
Thank you for saying that.
Hold the mayo, hold the mustard. Let's be honest, Leeds are a shadow of the team they were last season. They've only won 1 in 7. We are in really good form. We're playing with confidence. They have a lot of players out injured. And I think it was equal. They had 14 shots on goal. We had 14 shots on goal. And there were moments where it felt like they could penetrate and maybe do something. But I actually never felt, even with this squad, that we were in any danger of losing that game last night. So for me, Ben White is someone I've really stood by, and I've actually said that he could be even better than maybe Harry Maguire in years to come. And I was heavily judged on that because I said that on Lee's channel, and opposing supporters came out against me on that. And it's like, well, hold on a second. You pay 85 million for a player. He's had a decent season. He shines for England because he's around better players. And Ben White, who helped Leeds to promotion, was coached under Marcelo Bielsa, did really well at Brighton, I think deserves that chance. And in this game, he looked like Baresi. He looked like Maldini. He looked like the greatest player on the pitch. And you've got to be a bit realistic when you're looking at who else is playing and what the dynamic is of that game. So as excited as I am that we're in the quarterfinals of a cup we haven't won since 93, actually since Kev last, that's the last time that we won. Wenger never even won the League Cup, which is astonishing to me. And it's a trophy I said at the beginning of the season that I would love to win. But can we please just kind of calm the excitement over Chambers? Everyone's calling that a genius substitution from Arteta. Really? Ben White was injured. He had to come off. He had to choose to bring on a player. He brought on Chambers. How often does it happen that a player comes on right away and scores from being a sub without even touching the ball first? I would say that's a little bit more lucky than a genius stroke from the manager and the substitution. That's not me being a Debbie Downer. That's just my honest thought and opinion. And Nketiah, yes, his first touch to go over the goalkeeper was sublime. But my goodness, how lucky did he get with his second touch? That almost didn't go in. And I've seen the story with him. I've seen the story of Kolasinac, Chambers, El Neni. If we have injuries and we expect these players to come in, and God forbid we have long-term injuries, and these are the players that are going to come off the bench, this is a very different Arsenal team. Let's be honest, the League Cup is a different competition. So I'm stoked we're in the quarterfinals. I think it was dominant. I think you saw team spirit, which is the biggest thing I took out of that performance. But let's not get carried away with the fact that Eddie Nketiah and Chambers scored. I just don't buy into that as much as maybe some other people do. That's why I was called a negative Nelly.
Well, you know what? That makes me one too then, because I agree with you. Especially
2 Nellies in the room.
2 Nellies, and I think we might have a third once we speak to Lee. I've never felt that Nketiah was that top level type of striker, and I still don't. And I think he lacks on build-up play, and he was lucky with the finish. I also wasn't impressed with the likes of Holding. I think he was getting caught in behind quite easily. So yeah, I agree with you. And Pepe, I wasn't that impressed with Pepe either. Lee, you've heard what Sophie's saying. I mean, I think people are getting a little bit carried away. It is nice that we've continued that run, the winning run. It could have been worse, so let's not be totally negative. But there are players that had a chance to sort of vie for that first 11 slot, and I don't think they really did enough yesterday. What's your thoughts?
Do you know what? I hear what Sophie's saying. For me, it's a game that I can just go and enjoy without all the pressures of the league games and all. I quite enjoy it. Like, do you know what I mean? If we win, oh well. It's fantastic. If we lose, it's not the end of the world. So I quite enjoy those games. It was great seeing loads of kids there, families and all that yesterday. And I just take it as it is, But as far as performance is concerned, I thought there were some good ones and some bad ones. I thought it was a good game second half, if I'll be honest. And, Leeds, that is one thing we was actually speaking about yesterday. Leeds are in a bit of I think, in a problem this season. I think it's going under the radar a little bit. I don't think that they're in a very, very good place at this moment in time. They didn't rest that many players yesterday. They actually, the players that they didn't play were players that were out injured and all that. So realistically, at the moment, that's the sort of team that they're going to be going with in the next few weeks. And if it is, they're going to struggle because, we made lots of changes. And I felt that, it was a bit, I think it's a bit harsh. I'm going to say this now to say, right, Martinelli, go and prove yourself when there's 9 changes and things like that. I don't think that's fair. And I don't think it's fair on anybody to say, right, for instance, Martinelli is playing up front with Eddie. That's not like Aubameyang alongside him or Lacazette. So the same with the midfield and back four. I just think that give them a bit of a break. But come in and just do the job, and that's what they've done. I think that I quite like Maitland-Niles in there. I felt El Neni played really, really well, but if you're going to say, right, what are they going to go on to play in the Premier League? I don't look at it like that. I just think they're in the League Cup squad for a reason, and that reason is that they're not quite good enough.
I forgot Kolasinac was there. Sorry.
Yeah, and I was going to say, if as we're going deep and we're going to face like a Chelsea or a City or whoever, that squad can't beat those other teams.
And do you know what? I this is where I think, because we're not in Europe, I fancy us to do well in this competition, because when it comes to that game, we do pick up one of the big. I expect Arsenal to play their strongest side in that competition when it goes deep. Don't forget, when we come into December, I think someone told me today, correct me if I'm wrong, that it's about the 21st, 22nd of December, the next round. That's on through a heavy schedule of December with European games, and you've got all the Christmas games coming up. We ain't involved in none of that. I think someone said to me today, we've got 3 games in November to play.
Yeah.
This is going to be a fresh squad going into that busy period in December. So if we do pick up, if we pick up Sunderland in the next round and all that, then we can do what we done yesterday. But if we pick up a Chelsea or a one of the big boys, they're going to have to rotate a little bit, and I expect us to take advantage of that. I really do. But so for me, these 2 rounds that we've got through now, I was always worried about Leeds because you don't know what Leeds are in the same position as us, no Europe, so they could have played a stronger side. But I think from our point of view, we've got through these games with weakened teams, rested a few players. For instance, let's have a look at it. Like Leicester have played Thursday, Sunday, Wednesday before playing us on Saturday. We've had a nice little 3 games over a nice space of time to relax. So I think we're in a better position than what people think. So I look at it from that point of view. For me, it's about just getting into the next round. You can play really, really well and get knocked out. I'd rather play crap and get through, So, but I didn't think it was a bad game this day. I have to say, as I say, I quite enjoy. If you go to the game, there's a lot of families there, and I have to say that this. Leeds fans brought, I don't know, they took the whole end.
They always do, though, don't they?
Yeah, away fan, that
great away fans. Yeah.
Wimbledon took that, so we had to get an atmosphere up, and there's a lot of families, a lot of kids in there, and the atmosphere was brilliant yesterday, considering there were a lot of kids and families there. So a big up to all the fans that went yesterday. It was a good atmosphere, which could have, been a little bit, I don't know, dull a little bit when you've got 8,000 hardcore Leeds fans singing and all that. But we done really well. I think that it was the fans, big up the fans, and listen, I know with the Callum Chambers feel, I think, remember Bentner done that against Spurs, didn't he? Come straight on and scored you don't really see it very often, do you know what I mean? So I thought that was a good, listen, I think tongue-in-cheek people are saying about Arteta, he had no choice. It was just one of those things.
Some people were being a bit serious about it, though. I know the difference between tongue-in-cheek and then people...
Yeah, well, then, they've been a bit... listen, there are people in this fan base that will stick up for Mikel Arteta regardless, and that's how it is. I don't understand why they do that. Why would you want to give him some brownie points for that substitution? I don't understand. You know what I mean? I'd rather, say it how it is with him at the moment. And to be honest, he's getting most things right in the last couple of games. But
yep.
As I've always said, one sunny day doesn't make a summer.
So it seems like me and you, Sophie, are still the negative Nelly. So there's someone I can rely on. Shaheen, he's always negative. Right, very quickly, because we don't want to dwell on the Leeds game too much. But
no. Listen,
I
agree. No, I agree with Lee to a certain degree that it was a decent game, especially the second half. And Ben White, he had a shaky start to the season, but I agree with Sophie. He potentially could be. It's not that difficult to be better than Harry Maguire right now because he's not. I've always said, Sophie, that he's overrated, always. Mm-hmm. And same with Eddie Nketiah. And I don't really see what he's done yesterday for people to go on and about that.
They're talking about a new 3-year contract, Shaheen. They're talking about a new 3-year contract.
What for? He's not going to play every week for Arsenal. He's not good enough to do that.
Didn't even get the Leeds team, did he?
They had a chance to sell him to Palace, but he couldn't agree personal terms, and I can understand why, because he will walk away for free this summer, and he would earn a lot more money with signing on fee and all the rest. So why would he agree to a contract then? Also, there was another interesting thing about last night that not a lot of people picked up and talked about. It was the fact that Emil Smith-Rowe played instead of Odegaard. I would have thought that Odegaard, not played before, would have played.
Because isn't he a bit short though? Injury? Wasn't he injured though?
No, not as far as I know. As far as I know, he was playing really poor when he got subbed. That's what I remember.
You're saying you would have played him?
Well, starting Ben White and Emil Smith-Rowe was a risk in this game. Against this particular Leeds team that have won 1 in 7. That was high risk. And, now hopefully Ben White's going to be okay, and totally agree with Shaheen in with the Nketiah thing as well. And also, what about Balogun? He couldn't even come on yesterday. You know,
Sophie, that's one thing about Arteta that I've always looked at, and I couldn't understand why. Right? Just before I come to this, you know, when you said people talking about, it was genius from Mikel Arteta to bring Callum Chambers on. My question to those people would be, okay, what's the logic of taking Ben White off and bringing Chambers on? What is he looking to achieve? That's not really an attacking substitution. It's not a defensive substitution. It's just a like for like.
Yeah, but he had to. He was clear.
It was quite clear to everybody that Ben White, he either was injured or he was about to get injured, and they just
had a bug. Apparently, there's a bug going in the group. So he was carrying a bug and he was feeling it. That's what they said after the game.
Yeah, but as you said earlier, it was a forced substitution. And,
yes.
And it was very fortunate that Callum Chambers came on. Maybe it's a new substitution. They didn't pick him up properly, and he scored. Okay, fantastic, good for us. We move on. But it wasn't a genius bit of substitution from the manager or anything as such. And going back to what I was saying, Arteta sometimes does certain things that I struggle to work out. One of them is Martinelli. It's just the way he's always treated Gabriel Martinelli. He throws him in games like this after however long that he has not played, or he plays an odd 5 minutes here and there. And Balogun as well. I would have thought maybe bring Balogun last 10, 15 minutes, take Nketiah off. Bring him slowly, give him some more game time. He doesn't do that at all, and I don't understand why. And he's supposed to be good at, dealing with youngsters.
You know what? He's done that quite a bit, actually. Like some strange things. Like, for example, there was a game where Pepe scored a hat-trick and dropped the next game. It was very strange. The way he's treated Saliba, very strange. We could go on with some of the things, but we'll go into that in a bit.
And Lev, I just think that if you're not going to give Balogun a chance in these League Cup games, he's got to go on loan in January.
Yes. Exactly.
He'll be better off doing that.
You remember the drama we had, Sophie, with him and the new contract?
Yes.
And everybody was so scared, we're going to lose this guy. So they've signed him on a new contract, but what's the plan? You're going to leave him on under 23s. We'll send him out on loan then.
Do you know something before you move on, Lev, real quick?
No,
what I don't like at all is two things. In that Brentford game, we had to play a makeshift team. That wasn't the Arsenal that we are seeing now this season. We had lots of injuries. We had a lot of issues, and we were playing a Brentford team that was euphoric, coming up. It was their first game. It was inevitable for me. I actually said that we would lose that game, right? But what happened was he played Balogun up front and he played Martinelli on the left. And like Lee said earlier, you set players up to fail when you do that, when they don't have an anchor of a Lacazette, of a Aubameyang, or even the Gabriels, or even the Thomas Parteys in midfield, or whoever it is. And I feel like that stung both players. They cannot be blamed for their performance in that match. Everybody was appalling in that match. And to me, it just feels like sometimes, players are not punished, but they're looked at a certain way. They scapegoated, exactly. And we all know what Martinelli's done. He can't go from being the superstar that everyone wanted to see game in, game out last season to now being an average bit part player. No, that narrative doesn't suit me at all. So we have to be really careful about when these players play, how they're played and who they're playing against and who's around them when they're being asked to come into the team as well.
Well, that's all part of man management, isn't it? And he's learning on the job, Arteta. We expected him to make mistakes. Lee.
Thank you very much. Can I say something on this, right? Because it's a real bugbear of mine, right?
Go on then, mate.
Right. After the first three games, everybody, that's not Mikel's team. This was, didn't have this, didn't have that. Let's forget about those three games. With all the fan base has forgot about those three games. It's since Mikel now, it's all about this game. Well, why not forget about those three games with Martinelli and Balogun? Like, do you know what I mean? Like every time it's constantly reminded about those performances from the players, but not them. I look back at those games. There was no defensive. Positive. To go and to base a good solid defensive base to play off of. The midfield was all over the place. So why it wasn't just the forwards, it was all round the whole thing. So if you're going to prepared to brush under the carpet the 3 games for the manager, can we brush under the carpet for the players that played in it as well? Like, you know, and that's my point, you know what I mean, about Mikel Balogun, you know what I mean? But everybody turns around and says, oh, Balogun didn't do well against Brentford. Nor did anybody else, and that includes the manager. You know what I mean? So that's what I say, you know. So, you know, and I agree with this point. When was the last time Martinelli started? I tell you when it was, Wimbledon. How long ago was that? That was the last game he started. You know, you're asking players, and listen, if you're a forward, it's even harder to come into games not sharp, you know, match sharp, match fitness. You know, like we've all played football. We know that if it takes you 2 or 3 games to come into it, like, you know. Now, what really annoys me about this is that they're quick enough to jump on about Martinelli and that, like, you know, and he didn't play well yesterday. I'm not that, you know, he's got 90 minutes under his belt. That's what I'm more pleased about, that, you know. So if he gets a chance on Saturday, he might be able to do something. But what about his performance against Chelsea last season in on Boxing Day? You know, exactly. But they're quick enough to criticise. Oh, he hasn't done well. Look at the criticism that Pepe's getting at this moment in time, and rightly so. Whatever way you're looking at it, no one's sort of giving him like, oh well, he's this and that. Like, do you know what I mean? Like the same people that are criticising these players are backing the manager, or you know, vice versa. Like, you know, and I don't get that. I don't get it.
You see, Lee, what worries me about this whole Martinelli situation, right, is that say summer, right? For argument's sake, right? Let's say a Newcastle type of team comes in for Martinelli. He will look at this and he's going to be thinking, I'm not getting any game time here. Why am I even here? The manager don't fancy me. I'm not getting any game. They offering me week in, week out. I'm going to play. And this is going to be an exciting project. They're going to spend money, bring in good players. I'm going to go. I want to go. Guys, I'm off. Can you please accept the bid? That's what worries me about this situation.
I get that, and I understand that, and that is why the loans thing is important. But look, again, I've got to say this now. People are saying, right, give him a loan spell, give him this and give him that. And then when the club does it for someone like Saliba, what are we doing putting him out on loan? What are we doing this and everything, like, you know?
Yeah, Lee, the Saliba thing for me though, mate, sorry to interrupt, but for Saliba thing where it doesn't make sense. I do agree with you. Players should go out on loan, you know, if they're not going to get a lot of game time. It helps you develop, right? But you cannot, where it was an issue for me is you cannot look at, say, the likes of Chambers, who've been at the club a long time and holding and players like that and go, Saliba's not as good as those two, so I'm going to put that. When you look at Saliba, for me, he's a better player than
he is.
Both of those guys.
What my point is that Saliba would probably be on the bench at the moment, like, you know what I mean? So it's best that you might as well have Chambers on the bench, who's not going to be the future for Arsenal, and get someone like Saliba out there on loan, learning his trade at Marseille, doing what he's doing there, making mistakes but looking good in that. So when he comes back, then he comes back. That's how I see it. That's how I see. What a perfect.
There's talk of Saliba. Wait. There's talk of Saliba having a rift with Arteta because of the way he's been treated.
Well, if that's the case, then that's a different scenario. I'm looking at it as if I was a coach, this is how I look at it. I would be looking at going, right. Saliba's the future. Chambers and Holding or not. So I'll keep them as cover this season. They're not going to get used much. Get Saliba on loan. So next season he's more than ready. Like, that's how I would look at it. But if things are going wrong behind the scenes, that's how the perfect loan should work. Like, you know, Balogun should be on loan, guys. You know what I mean? At this moment in time, there's no way he should be where he is at this moment in time. I don't know what's gone on there. He signed a massive contract. This is where people get the beef with Eddie getting the chances, because Balogun signed a long-term deal. Obviously, Eddie hasn't. You know, so realistically, is it worth giving him the game yesterday instead of Eddie? That is what people will say. But for me, he should have been out on loan, learning his trade, getting himself stronger in the Championship or whatever, and then coming back to Arsenal battle ready. You know,
imagine paying 27. Imagine paying £27 million for a player and him being on loan for 3 years in a row.
Thank you.
That is not a good.
And imagine being that player and
I
seeing the
believe
likes
that
of Holding and Chambers.
There are circumstances to that. There are circumstances.
There are, but there are circumstances of which that Nicola Pepe gets sent off, is scolded by Arteta in a press conference. Xhaka gets sent off, he's patted on the arse by Arteta when he comes off. Ceballos is horrific in the Europa League and makes mental mistakes, gets picked the next game, right? Guendouzi is a punk against Brighton, granted, okay, and does things that he shouldn't have. But instead of managing some of these players and trying to say to them, listen, you're in a privileged position, you're playing for the Arsenal, you're a punk, unless you change, okay, fine, I get that. Torreira gone. Mavropanos, I would say, is better than, and you can see his progress in Bundesliga, better than Holding and Chambers.
I was just going to say that. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
That was rude. So that was rude.
No. It's just because this is what I was going to say. I was going to say that's another young player that is doing really well out on loan, Mavropanos. And he was supposed to be this big thing, but he's always been out on loan. And now you mentioned his name, I thought I'll come in and say he's doing really well in Germany as well.
And he's scoring. He's scored a couple of goals too. And here's the thing too. I understand if you have a certain criteria for character as a manager. Every manager builds a team in their image and their profile, right? Pep Guardiola's teams, Barcelona, Bayern Munich, Manchester City, they have an image of him. Antonio Conte, Juventus, Chelsea, Inter Milan, image of him. Jurgen Klopp, Dortmund, Liverpool, image of him, right? Arteta's a novice. Lampard, a legend at Chelsea, couldn't build a team in the image of him who we knew as the player. He's gone. Tuchel comes over, wins a double European trophy last season. Mikel Arteta, it's time that we started seeing the Arsenal in the image of him. He's the manager. His style, whatever it is he wants this identity to be for this particular Arsenal team. I feel like we've seen that a little bit more in the Villa game and the Tottenham game. But you can't use the Carabao Cup as a barometer for the image of the new Arsenal and the DNA and the culture that he's trying to build. For me, we've got to see how he goes from now till the end of the year. Can you keep this up? Can you progress? Is this team going to take on your image as a manager? And if that's so, what is that? And I think we need to see a little bit more of that and the identity on the pitch where he's concerned.
Sophie, that's why we know you're a professional, because that's a perfect segue for my next bit, yeah? Because basically, segue, I've been doing my research. But basically, this is what I wanted to get to the crux of, right? So obviously, we've gone unbeaten for a little while. Are we back on track, or is it just the fixtures that we've had being quite favourable for us? And with a really difficult fixture list coming thick and fast, we've got Leicester away, Watford away, then Liverpool away. No, Watford's at home, then Liverpool away, and Newcastle at home with their new owner bounce maybe, and then Man United away and Everton away. So there's a lot of difficult games there. So what I want to try and understand with you guys is he getting somewhere? Is the sort of trusting the process starting to sort of come to fruition, or is it just a period where the teams that we're playing are quite favourable? It's suited us. What do you think? And I'm going to start off with Lee with this one because he looks like he's proper serious.
No, I think that it's game for game at this moment in time. I think that those fixtures are favourable. If you was a manager coming in, say, like for a new club or whatever, like, and they said, right, that's your game, that's your first few games to start off with, you'd be looking and thinking, well, yeah, I fancy those games, I don't think we should have lost a game at this moment in time. I think like fairly decent point at Brighton, I'd take that. The disappointment one was the way we played at Palace. But other than that, I'd expect us to win those games, and we have. So do I expect us to win at Liverpool? No, I don't. Do I expect us to win at Leicester? We've got a chance. I expect us to beat Watford, but, Everton's not going to be easy. And I'll tell you that now, Man United, depending on what happens in the next few weeks, I think if Solskjaer's in charge, we've got a chance. But if he hasn't, and they've got a new manager, that's going to be a tough one as well. But like people turn around and say, oh, this team's changing, this and that, like showing character, it's showing this and showing that. We've been at home against teams that you're expected to win, play against. Let's see the character, let's see the spirit, let's see the fight. when they're up against it, against Leicester and Liverpool. They're the two games that will tell me everything I need to know about Arsenal and Mikel Arteta's so-called team. And when they turn around, it is his team. This is his team going away to Liverpool. Who, by the way, I've got a ticket for that line. I think, do I really want to go Liverpool after what unbelievable? So I don't expect us to beat Liverpool, but what I do expect is just to give it a good go. Tactically be aware of what their dangers are. I don't expect to see Mane or Mo Salah in our box with no one around them, like I have done in the past. You know what I mean? They are quite dangerous, by the way. So I hope that we've got a job sorted out then. And do you know what? I want to see us have a game plan and think, do you know what? It could have worked. We was unlucky or whatever. Then I'll make a judgment. I don't think it's about winning and losing those games. It's about what we do in those performances. And if we get performances, then I can turn around and say, right, that takes us on. These next few games, we could really, I think, will define whether we think Mikel's the man or not, or the players are. What I will say, I'm loving the attitude of the player. You cannot help, forget about whether you like Mikel Arteta or not. You cannot, at this moment in time, I feel more connected to the players than I've ever done for the last 3 or 4 years. I'm warming to them. The way that they celebrate goals, the way that they.
Do you think that's down to Arteta, or do you think that's his influence?
Yeah, because I think because of the player, the caliber of players he's brought in. You've got to say that listen. People were criticising Ramsdale when he signed for the club. Now everybody's loving him. Is that down to Mikel, or is that down to the player?
That's a good point.
He has made every single Arsenal player, a supporter, warm to him by the way he goes about his stuff.
So you could argue the mentality of the players that he's bringing in are different to the ones we had.
Yeah, and I'm not criticising Leno here. Look, far from it, because he's a decent enough goalkeeper. But I haven't got that affection for him like I have Ramsdale, because he doesn't do the things Ramsdale does. Do you see what I'm saying? Do you know what I mean?
Celebrated the goal with everybody else, didn't he? For example,
he's more of a machine. For instance, Leno made a great save yesterday. He goes under the radar a little bit, but Ramsdale he gets involved with the fans, and so we have brought in a different type of player. You cannot at this moment in time not like Smith. I dare anybody not to say I don't like Smith Rowe or I don't like Saka. You know what I mean? They're players that you think to yourself, I kind of like them, even if they don't play well. I kind of like them. You know what I mean? And I think that's what the Arsenal team has changed over the last few years. You know what I mean? I'm getting I feel like I can get behind these players, whether they're going to be great or not. I just feel a connection towards them.
See, I hear your point, and that makes a lot of sense to me. And yes, you are right. The type of players we've brought in, there is a difference in the mentality, and the way they carry themselves, and the effort that they put in, and the camaraderie, 100%. But moving over to Sophie, then, yes, he's brought in the right players, but where do we draw the line, Sophie? And this is something that Shaheen asks a lot, because where do we draw the line and say, hold on a minute, this is his team. They're still not delivering. I mean, the guy we don't realise it, but he's been here longer than we sometimes remember. He's been here for a couple of seasons now. Where do we say? At what point do we go? It's not working. We need to move on from this. And do you see the changes? And do you see us moving forward based on these last few results or the last few runs?
A couple of things just to touch on what Lee said too. There are certain players. Kevin Campbell tells me all the time, a manager doesn't need to motivate me. There are some players that are self-motivated and just have that chip. Tomiyasu has it, Ramsdale has it, Ben White has it, Gabriel has it, Kieran Tierney has it, Thomas Partey has it, Lacazette, the player that they want to sell, has it. If you saw how the players ran to him yesterday to celebrate, and there's that reverse picture of them coming towards him, and then the image from Lacazette's side, there's a reason why people gravitate to a player like Lacazette. He's more of a leader and a captain than Aubameyang, and I'm not here to kill and criticise Aubameyang, but that's just kind of what you see in front of you, right? And Lacazette to me is our Bobby Firmino. Doesn't get the credit, doesn't get the lauding, but what he does on and off the ball creates the chances for all the other players around him, right?
Yeah, agreed.
So you also have to say that Unai Emery inherited a mess from Gazidis and Wenger. Let's not joke about that. Everyone's saying, well, Arteta inherited a mess from Unai Emery. Well, Unai inherited a mess, and he was also not able to buy a couple of the players that he wanted that he felt was going to change this squad. So then once it got to Arteta and Adu, they inherited a double mess from both managerial eras, right? And they invented a systematic, institutionalized mess. Arsenal's DNA and culture was dead. We were gone. We're not the same Arsenal. We're Arsenal 2.0 now, and we're trying to rebuild that. So I always have respect for them for those reasons. But you also had a chance to qualify for the Champions League, as did Unai. You both failed. Last season, we finished 8th in his first season. In the second season, we finished 8th. If, to me, it gets to the end of December and we're still in 8th to 12th position, you got to start asking questions. Is he the right man? Especially with the sense that he does have his own team now and he is able to influence his style of play with the players that he has. I have got a humble pie baking in the oven. I'd love to eat it with whipped cream and vanilla ice cream because there's nothing more I'd love for Arteta to succeed, because if he does, my club does. And that's all I care about. But if we can please just separate criticising Arteta in his first 18 months because it's valid versus supporting him when he's doing really well. And I think Lee and I have talked about this before on various shows. I haven't with you guys. It's exasperating. He deserved the criticism in the season that he took over in the league. He won the FA Cup and that bought him love coupons, but those love coupons have expired now, especially in the league. He finishes 8th again last season. So I think this is pivotal now. The next few months are pivotal, and we're going to learn a lot about him as a manager, and we're going to learn a lot about his impact on these new players as well.
See, it's funny. Sorry, Lee, but it's funny you mentioned Lacazette, because me and Shaheen have been saying on our shows, why is he not playing Lacazette? Because clearly the link-up play with the youngsters is far better when Lacazette plays. Shaheen, I know this is a subject that.
I've always been a fan of Lacazette. And I think he brings something to the team that Aubameyang doesn't. He brings a bit of fire. He brings a bit of physicality up front. And, we talked about Mikel Arteta treating different players differently. I think he hasn't treated Lacazette well. He hasn't got any games. And if you look at it from a business point of view, that's another £40 million player that we're going to let walk away for free. So that's another £40 million that we've politely pissed away.
Would you offer him a new contract based on recent performances?
I would have sold him last because he had some value with him. Because, listen, offering a player contract, it's like the Xhaka situation. You offer a contract to a player for what? What reason? You offer Alexander Lacazette a contract and then keep him on the bench. Why? What's the point? And going back to Mikel Arteta, he's winning games that he's expected to win. He hasn't beaten Liverpool. He hasn't beaten Man City. He hasn't beaten Chelsea. He's winning games that he should be winning. He's doing what he's supposed to be doing. He's supposed to be beating Aston Villa at home. He's supposed to be beating Crystal Palace at home, which he didn't. He's supposed to beat Leeds at home on the Carabao Cup. Right? So he hasn't done anything for people to turn around and say, we've turned a corner now. We've done this now. No, he's doing what he's supposed to be doing. I still stand by what I said, that he should have gone end of last season when he didn't qualify for Europe and what happened against Villarreal. But obviously my opinion is not really important in this equation. And I just think Lacazette, we all see what he brings to the team. He, as a manager, he should be using him more often.
We don't have any other strikers like that, Lee, do we? I mean,
No.
A couple of the things, Lee, very quickly before you carry on. Some of these best decisions were forced upon him, Arteta. Emile Smith-Rowe being one of them.
Football, Lev, you know what I mean? Like sometimes, I've always said it. I've always said it, and I maintain it. Mikel Arteta is a very, very lucky man. Look at him. He's very, you know, I mean, in everything that he's done in walks of life. He's got a beautiful wife. He's played professional football. He's
great hair, Lee. We hate him, don't he? His hair is ridiculous.
He's got great hair. He's got everything. He's very, very, and according to all the women, he's got a lovely bum there. I go on Twitter and they're all saying he's got a lovely bum.
All the girls I know.
So this guy's very, very fortunate. And sometimes you can have that bit of fortune when you know, sometimes in Football Manager, I don't care what anybody says, you can it falls on your lap. Something happens and it all of a sudden, play him there and it works. And that's what he's got. The fact of the matter is, with Mikel Arteta, and I say this now, when you play Crystal Palace against Vieira the other day, he has on his bench players like Lacazette to come on, Martinelli come on, which other managers haven't got. You know what I mean? Like, you know, people go on about Steve Bruce. Steve Bruce, you know, hadn't got the players. You've got to have players. Mikel has got players to come in there. Now, for me, if these players are better than 8th in the league or 10th in the league or wherever we are in the league now, right? If come May that we are 8th again, then that is just not acceptable with the players we've got. I don't care what everybody says, you know what I mean? That is the crunch of it, like, you know. He has got to get these players and performing. Now, since he has got his players, he has gone unbeaten. So you have to give him some sort of credit for that. It's all right saying, like, you can't turn around and say, when he loses to Chelsea, you know, he's rubbish and whatever. You've got to give it the credit where it's good. You know, we've beaten Spurs, lovely, like, you know what I mean? He's gone on an unbeaten run. I expect, you know, this run to continue or get close to it. But ultimately, come December, if I'm sitting here on Boxing Day or Christmas Day eating my turkey and we're in
humble pie.
yeah, I want to be eating that humble pie
with cream. By the way,
you know what? We're still 8th or 10th. When are we going to make a move? Now, if we'd have beaten Palace, we'd have been in the top 4 come Saturday morning, like, you know what I mean? We'd have dropped out of it, like, you know what I mean? If we can beat Leicester and Watford, we ain't going to be far where we want to be in the crunch of it. So then I will say, right, okay, let's see what happens, like, you know. But ultimately, it comes down, and I don't care what anybody says now, he has got a job to do. And if we finish 8th next season, right, at the end of this season, and the club decides to say, right, we're giving him another go, I want to know why and on what grounds. You know what I mean? Like, that they want to do that. So I'm prepared to just say, right, see what happens. I'm not prepared to go, oh, he's great and he's that, and I'm not prepared to say he's rubbish and whatever. What I'm saying is, you've got games now to make your mark, and he has got these games now to make his mark and make sure he does it. He has got the players that he wants. You know, you can look at the Ben White one yesterday, like, you know, did he really need to play Ben White? You know, one hearing today that he weren't well. For me, if he's your main man, your main central defender, see you like have him in there. I want Cam Jones. That tells me though that he's not really that confident in Holding and Chambers together. He'd rather have one of his main men as a central defender. I agree with. I don't forget.
Which makes the Saliba thing even worse for me.
Well, not necessarily, because you've got Mari there that's a good backup as well. For me, Saliba's too good to be a backup, guys. You know what I mean? Like, so get him out on the loan, get him.
Saliba's on loan in the shop window. We're going to sell him. You don't send
don't
a
say that.
I'm not going to be happy. I'm not going to be happy.
He's going to be a world-class defender.
It's interesting.
Sophie. Look what you've done.
It's interesting Sophie says this, because I am actually of an opinion that we will probably, if somebody comes in with, I don't know, for some reason, I think if somebody comes in with money, they will sell him. Because I just don't think Mikel Arteta looks at him and he's going to be like, oh, I really want this. If he did, he would have kept him this season.
After all this time, exactly. And here's the scoop too, right? So you're talking about kind of like position and players and stuff like that. I think what we need to take into account is that this is a team that's coming together, right? They've not played too many games together. And what I hear from a lot of people, it's the players. So when we win, when we lose, it's because of the players. When we win, it's because of Mikel Arteta. This is the narrative that irritates me so much. It's both of them. It's the manager and the players. It's 50-50, right? The Europa League semi-final 2 legs. Mikel Arteta, in my opinion, lost us a European place by squeezing square pegs in round holes, playing Xhaka at left back. And he lost to the man that he replaced. Any other club, right, replaces that manager at that time. Now, he's lucky that we have the owners that we do. I've seen a lot of people in chat saying he's done the double over Chelsea. He's beaten City. He's beaten City in the Cup. He's beaten Chelsea in the Cup. And he did do well against Chelsea in the league. But the point is we still finished 8th, you guys. What about all of the other games? You've got to pull it together and go on a run and beat the teams that we've been losing against, which we've done so far this season. We beat Villa, who did the double over us last season. We beat Norwich, who are a shocking team, to be quite honest with you. You know, we beat Tottenham, who apparently won the league in August again. So these are the things that we need to build on. And if he doesn't build on this, and we don't get a good result against some of the top 6 teams, because our new rivals aren't United. Our rivals aren't United, Chelsea. Well, United might be now. Chelsea, City, Liverpool. Our rivals now are Villa, Leeds, Wolves, Everton, those types of teams. We've got to get results against those types of teams. And if we don't, we'll find ourselves in the same position again. So respect to the chat for saying those things and bringing those up. I get it. But if you can't beat the teams that are in your realm and below you, then you're never going to improve. And that's for me where he has to.
And that's why this is important, Soph. That's why this game, to me, I'm looking at it. This is a massive game.
I agree, Lee.
Massive game.
And we scored Leicester at the King Power last season, did we not? Yeah, brilliant performance.
Yeah. Well, another segue. So what do we think is going to happen? Go on.
Can I just say something? No. I just want to ask Sophie this. Do you think if he brings Saliba back, right, that would give him an additional problem of he either needs to change formation or who is he going to drop?
I just think that he doesn't trust him yet. And I feel like there's something about Saliba. I don't think it's the footballer. I think it's the character. I think that video really turned him off. I think he's a real character guy, hence why Guendouzi is out. You know, hence why some players are gone. I don't think Mavropanos is gone because of character. I think he's gone because he just doesn't believe he has the talent. But I do think that he's a bit like Pep Guardiola. You've got to have a certain personality and character to couple with the talent to play for him. And there's something about him and Saliba as men where they don't gel. Because you can't argue that Saliba isn't more talented than Holding and Chambers, because he is. I mean, look, he held off Mbappe and he held off PSG at the weekend and performed really well. And he started off great, went through a dip and is back to form in that game against PSG. But for me, I think that video, even though it was taken years ago, right, when he was much younger, there was something about that didn't gel with him. And then his own personal problems, like losing your mum, is not easy, man. I mean, I'd challenge anyone in life. You lose a parent, your life changes completely, let alone having 100. To play for a football team like the Arsenal. So there's a little bit more to it than that. And maybe come the end of the season, if he's done well in Liga, I feel like we might cash in on him and let him move on.
I think both Mavropanos and Saliba are better than both Holding and Chambers, in my opinion. I think we're making a huge mistake. And I actually believe Saliba is going to end up being a world-class defender. But look, let's move it on.
I think they already have their eye on what they want to do next, personally.
Well, we'll touch on that. Okay, so the Leicester game, guys, yeah? What are we expecting to see? It's a really, really important game. What are we expecting to see? Lee, I'm going to come to you first. What lineup do you think he's going to stick with? The same lineup that played against the likes of in the last few games, or do you think he's going to make any changes based on the performances in the Carabao?
I think I'll tell you a little bit about Mikel on Saturday when he names his left back, because I thought Tavares was absolutely outstanding against.
I think Tierney's got a problem. I think he's underrated.
So for me, he plays as far as I'm concerned, because there was a law once that owner of the shirt keeps it, and I thought he was absolutely outstanding. And if you play like that and then get left out, I think that's a difficult one. For me, he's gone in there, proved the manager that he's capable in a Premier League game, not a League Cup game. Was left out yesterday as well. So I think they'd be very, very interesting. So I expect the same back four. I don't expect Tierney to be playing, and not because he's not been playing that well. And it's just that performance from Tavares was absolutely outstanding, and I feel that he deserves another chance in there. So for me, I'm going with the same back four. If Ben White is available, I think if he doesn't play Ben White, I think we've got a problem. I think we've got a problem.
You stick with a back four. You still stick with Tavares, which I agree with you. By the way, I think Tierney's performances are waned a little bit. So I would 100% agree with you.
Yeah, I just think that it was an outstanding performance, and you come in and produce that sort of performance. I think he earns his shirt. I think he deserves it.
Good.
I would look, and I've got to say that Lokonga and Partey as the two midfield players. So you've got 6 players there then to defend. 6 players, so I expect a good defensive performance from them then. And then you can't leave Lacazette out. He's got to play a Bellingham on the left, Saka on the right, Smith Rowe floating about doing what he's doing. I think Odegaard's was ill. Was it? I think I don't really know if Odegaard was injured or ill.
I think he had I think I heard.
Yeah, I'm hearing both. I'm hearing both things, that he had a bug and he was ill or whatever. So again, you look at it. When you think, right, what options you got on the bench? You've got Martinelli, you've got Odegaard, Tierney on the bench. You've got some players on that bench, you know what I mean? So again, I'm saying they should be performing a lot better. Listen, if we go there and win that game, I'll be highly delighted. If we get away and come out of a draw, other than like they score in the last minute, of course, I would turn around and say, yeah, I'll take the point there if it's a good battle and everything there. I expect us to still be unbeaten.
Oh, right. Okay. Sophie, are you as confident as Lee? And you know what we haven't touched on really with regards to Ramsdale, for example? His distribution is off the chain, by the way. What's your thoughts with regards to the Leicester game, Sophie, and what Lee's just said?
I asked Super Kev a question the other day on the show saying if Ramsdale carries on this form and Pickford and some of the other goalkeepers are waning, does he have a chance to be the starting goalkeeper for England at the World Cup? Kev thought it might be too soon for him, but I think that if he carries on like this and has that type of season, why not, right? But I mentioned I mentioned beating them convincingly at the King Power last season. That was such a game that no one was expecting us to have. And I think that a lot of folks are going to be expecting us to lose or not get too much out of this against Leicester. Leicester have gone through a very tricky time from the start of the season. They've had a lot of injuries, but that Man United performance was really quite old school Brendan Rodgers Leicester. They nailed them to the wall, right? And we've seen obviously that United have their own issues. Tillemans is on fire, right? So our midfield has to be on Johnny on the spot. And I'll give Sambi Lokonga credit after a horrible game against Crystal Palace. My goodness, he bounced back. And to show that tenacity to bounce back, and I give him more credit than a lot of people do. He's 21 years old. He was made captain of Anderlecht by Vincent Kompany. You don't get that accolade without being a good player. So I was happy to see him bounce back. I'd start the same team that we did against Villa. If it ain't broke, don't try and fix it. Give the players the chance. Totally agree with Lee. Agree with all of you on Nuno. He's got this fearlessness. And Arsenal haven't had a lot of fearless players of the last few seasons. You know, they get stuck in. Now you see them when someone goes for a player, they all jump in. They all like stand up for their teammate. It's a lot different than that Ozil Mustafi, era that we've seen where everyone seemed like weak sauce. It seems like now we've got a little bit of hot sauce at the Arsenal. And I hope that he starts with that same team. And even if we get a draw at Leicester, it's not the end of the world, because getting a draw away against a team like that is a good result. So I would go with the same squad and build on that and start identifying who your best 11 is. Kieran Tierney, I'm a huge fan of, but like Saka, they need a bit of a rest. They've played football throughout the summer. They've been on the go for a really long time, and Tierney's injury prone. There's no need to rush him back. Let him rest. If he can be on the bench to come on, there's no harm, no foul in that one for me.
Absolutely, 100% agree with you on that. And if it's going to be sauce, it's got to be chili sauce. So, Shaheen, Do you agree with the guys with regards to the Leicester game?
Yeah, I would go exactly the same as it was against Villa, because what we saw against Villa was something that we haven't seen for a while. It was a bit of pace, bit of fire, bit of urgency. That's what Lacazette brings to the forward line. I think Lacazette being there makes Aubameyang play better, and I really liked what I saw. And I agree with Sophie. Why would you change that? Why would you change that? And the last thing I want him to do is go to the King Power and play defensively. If you want to go there and attack. If you go there try to defend against Leicester, you will lose the game. Go there and attack. We've got enough about us to go there and cause problems. So I hope he does that. It's an important game, and I agree. If a draw out of that game is not a bad result at all. But a win, obviously, is something that we would all take.
And Shaheen, we took him to task with Willian in the team last season.
Yes,
so
exactly.
And we're supposedly a better team this season too. And
yeah, that was a performance that came out of nowhere, Sophie. If you recall, nobody was expecting, anything. And we have that in our locker. We can go to places like this and turn up, especially with a team that was against Villa, because they had energy. They had desire, they had passion, they had power. Everything was there, and I want to see that again.
Well, what I want to go on to is, with discussing all of this. Obviously, the Leicester game's important, but we've got a difficult running coming up as well. We discussed the fixtures that are coming up. So, something that we keep talking about on here, guys, is moving forward. We're looking at that midfield situation, for example, the central midfield. You're looking at AFCON coming up. And I'm starting to feel a little bit uneasy in the sense of, yes, we've got a good balance now and our team's starting to gel a bit better. But then you start looking at AFCON looming in December. And then when you start seeing who potentially could be leaving to go and play in the tournament, we start to worry about how short we could be in certain areas, in particular central midfield. So I'd love to hear you two, your guys' takes, Lee and Sophie in particular, because I know me and Shaheen have discussed this till we're blue in the face. So Lee, AFCON looming, have we left ourselves too short in that central midfield area? I mean, if you think about it, El Nene's going to be gone, Partey is going to be gone, Xhaka's still going to be returning from a medial ligament injury. We're going to have Ainsley Maitland-Niles potentially and Lokonga at this stage. And then you've got Aubameyang going as well. And there's a few others as well. Have we left ourselves short for that period?
Yes, you'd have to say that on the contents of what you just said, like Maitland-Niles. Listen, I like Maitland-Niles, but I think he's someone that can come in and do a job and all that like that.
Yeah.
And there's a transfer window in January and we're going to have to use it. Whether it's going to be loan players or not, we're going to.
AFCON starts in December, doesn't it?
No, January. I think it starts
in January.
Well, they have to leave in December, right?
Yes.
It's December to January. Yeah.
I think it's the end of December they leave, and then it goes in January. So we'll have to bring in a couple of players. Of course, some big games in January as well. By the way, FA Cup. So we've got some big games. So. We're going to have to spend some money. As simple as that.
Surely we should have looked at this, Lee, during the transfers and looked at who would be going at AFCON and made plans for it from the.
Yeah, but you can only have so many in a squad, I suppose. I don't know. I think that we probably listen. If Arsenal haven't thought about this. You know what I mean? Then we're in real trouble. I think that January we'll get a few loans in.
Lee, it's January 9th to February 6th. So if some of our players go deep in the tournament, that's a big deal. And as we were saying, they're going to have to leave earlier than the 6th to the 9th, then to be with their team. So that Christmas period,
before, wouldn't they? I reckon, a week before. Yeah. So
these are pivotal players, though, guys.
The 1st of January got Man City, haven't we? If I remember rightly. So I think after that game, we will lose them after that game. Now, if that is the case, then we do progress in the Carabao Cup. We're going to have to We ain't got them for them. We got going to miss them for some games. I honestly think that they will have to make a couple of signings. They're going to have to. You can't throw in youngsters. People are saying like Wiltshire and throwing youngsters. You can't throw these youngsters in for games in January against Tottenham away and all that. Like, we're going to have to be serious and make some.
Who are we going to find though, Lee? What guys? I mean, look, think about it.
Well,
Arsenal will never do anything
will
fast.
come in for Aubameyang. Yeah, I think that's one
on the left. He'll play on the left though, right?
Yeah.
And then
you could do that. Lacazette will
play up front if we don't sell
down
him.
the middle. If we was to lose Lacazette for injury, we're in trouble. So they'll have to look to get cover there. If you're losing Thomas Partey and El Neni, you're losing two players from the midfield. You've got to get in somebody.
We're already saying that Lukonga's quite not ready. Sophie, sorry, go on.
I would actually think that now's a cheap time to go buy Basuma if we want to do that.
Talking about
that would be an epic, but I'm not sure Arteta fancies him.
Basuma in the African nations, though.
Yeah. That's a good point. Who was the Sheffield United midfielder that he was interested in for a while? The name escapes me. Players like that now, we could get
Berg. It was Berg, wasn't it?
We could get cheaper, and then of course going forward, if they want to bite the bullet now, although I'm sure it might be tougher in January than the summer, is Yusuf El Nesri from Sevilla, who's very hot on our list for strikers. So he could take that baton from January onwards. Burge, thank you, Don One. It was Burge from Sheffield.
We'll also be looking at
United.
Dennis Zakaria as well from Borussia Dortmund, right?
Right, but are Mali going to make are they going to make the actual tournament? I know that people are saying Basuma plays for Mali, but I'm not sure they're actually going to make it, are they? But there's options.
I don't know.
See, so we have left ourselves pretty short. We say they're options, but there's nobody of the caliber of Partey to take over. We're already saying Lukonga is not quite ready yet, and he's a young lad. I think he's very good, and I think he's going to get more game time than we expect. But it's a lot to have on his shoulders to be the main pivotal centre midfielder with someone like Ainsley Maitland-Niles. And if that doesn't work, where do we go? So we're going to have to buy, and we're going to have to buy early, aren't we?
And Lev, this is why I was saying don't get excited about yesterday, because if these are the players that have to step in over a period of a month, let's say some of our players go deep into the competition at AFCON. We lose them for the whole of January. And then when they come back, they're going to need a rest, just like the players that play in the Euros, right? It's a bit of a pickle. Loan deals might be an option for us, a player that might not be getting happy time at one of their clubs for us to look into. And we cannot, please can we stop putting the pressure on Charlie Patino, everybody, to come in and be a saviour like we did with Jack Wilshere for all those years, and we're doing with Saka and Emile Smith-Rowe. He can come in and maybe play a few games, but he's not going to be the answer long-term right now. We can't do that to players like that. I think we need to be really super careful. Maitland-Niles can step in and do a job. Is he going to be able to be consistent, though, game after game? That's the biggest question. And to me, Maitland-Niles was the man of the match yesterday, and a player who's actually taking his opportunities this season because, of course, he's playing in the role that he's always wanted to.
No, so there we've got no real answers as to what we're going to do. And the concern for me, Sophie, is we've said this many times, is we're never ready at the start of a season. We're always sort of short, or players not quite ready, and we end up sort of losing the first couple of games. And then now we're facing a January window where we're going to be depleted due to AFCON. So those are the worries there. So it's going to be interesting to see what transpires. And I'm sure Shaheen's going to be in touch with the likes of Fabrizio leading up to the January window. So let's see what happens, guys. If we could smash the likes in the chats, man, it's very, very active. Please smash the likes. Please show your appreciation, and also put your comments in there, what you expect to see against Leicester and your first 11. That would be interesting to have a look at. Shaheen, anything else you want to touch on? We've sort of gone over the hour mark.
No, man, I agree with Lee in terms of this AFCON. There must be a plan in place. It has to be. It's an area we've all seen, acknowledged that it could be a problem. So I'm assuming a director of football at Arsenal Football Club and a manager are aware of this also, and they have plans in place to deal with this. I would be surprised if comes first week of January we haven't got a player in, because we've got Tottenham away, we've got to play Man City. If we've progressed in a Carabao Cup, we've got possibly a fixture there, FA Cup. So they it has to be a plan in place. I don't know what it is. It has to be one.
Are you hoping there's the plan in place?
I am, yes.
It sounds like you're trying to convince yourself.
I'll be shocked if there is no plan. I'll be shocked if you go with Maitland-Niles and Lokonga. And they come out with this usual rubbish that it's January, it's difficult market, we don't have any fans, we're just looking for loans. You know, the usual rubbish that you try to feed fans in January. I just hope that there's a plan and they will address the issues for once.
Well, Xhaka will be back January.
Oh, God.
What is he going to be back in time though, Sophie?
I did jazz hands there, Sophie, because of what you just said. Can I just hear your thoughts on Xhaka? Because I know what mine is and what Shaheen.
Be careful, because Lee's Xhaka's mate. You forgot that, yeah?
I've really supported Xhaka for a long, long time. And I think Xhaka's problem... And I tell you, when I saw him in LA, I understood why he was made captain. Because there were a lot of goofballs in that team that I saw, guys. A lot of immaturity, especially with Kolasinac and Mustafi and Ozil. And I could see why Xhaka was made captain by Emery. I mean, granted, after he picked 5 captains, but Xhaka was always the leader of the group. And I can see why that is. As a person, I liked him. He was very mature, very personable, and a good representative of the club. The problem with Xhaka's mistakes is they're big ones. And we remember those more than the other things he does to help this team when he does. And here's the problem. No one says Xhaka's a world beater, but in this Arsenal team, he offers something that maybe we need at times. Right now, we've been fine without him. But when we face better teams and we're going deeper into the season, is he going to be the type of play that we might need, bearing in mind all the issues with AFCON and the fact that we're stifled financially as well? I'm not saying he's the best. I'm not saying he's the answer. But unfortunately for him, when you make mistakes like you do at Burnley, at Crystal Palace, you get sent off at Chelsea and you have that immaturity, you're remembered for those things versus the good things you've done maybe since you've been partnered with Thomas Partey. I think that's the issue with Xhaka. Long term, we all know that we've got to move on from that.
And physically, he's already struggling in the Premier League. So God knows how he's going to come back from a medial ligament injury. It's going to take him time. So it's going to be very, very difficult for him to come back and hit the pace of the Premier League straight off the bat. So it is concerning.
And Lev, we couldn't sell him when he was at the peak of his performance.
I know.
Think about it, right? After the Euros, you'd think we could get top dollar for him. But we couldn't even get top dollar from, what were we expecting? Italian football is on its knees financially. But there was nothing else. And
he was great in those Euros.
So what do people think we're going to get for him now he's been injured and he's been out of the game for this long? It's almost like we're stuck with the devil we know versus the devil we don't. And that's unfortunate for the Arsenal.
So I have a feeling, Sophie, he's going to be the next one who's going to walk away for free.
Probably. We should have taken the 12 million. We really should have. If they really wanted to move on, I mean, if you can't get optimum dollar for him after that Euros, then I don't know what you're expecting to get for him now. I just don't understand that.
And then they go and offer him a new contract.
I love this as well. This is one
they
of our
doubled down on it, yeah. Gave him more money.
Ella says Xhaka returning will be like a new signing. Galespera, Ella. Yeah, thank you for that. So look, I mean, guys, there's a lot still to consider moving forward. The roller coaster ride is well and truly in full flow. We don't know what's happening next. Right now, we're on a bit of a high. We're doing okay. It's going to be lots of dips, twists and turns, and some shocks, I'm sure. So let's keep an eye on it. It's flown by today. It's like an hour and 15 minutes, mostly because Lee wouldn't stop chatting, but it's just one of them things and you just got to go with it. But it's been an absolute pleasure having you guys on. Long time coming. Sophie, anything you'd like to leave us with? I mean, look, you do your squaddy thing. Oh, and any other squad? Do you call them squaddies? Do you?
Yeah, squaddies.
Right.
Yeah.
Squaddies, from the loungers to the squaddies. There you go. Lee, your viewers don't have any nicknames, do they?
No.
The judges,
the intellects,
the flip flops, the baldies.
You've got the Eternals, you've got the Judgmentals. That would be a good one, eh?
The Judgmentals. There you go. But Sophie, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on, honestly.
Thank you for having me.
I love your views. Very professional, very slick, make us look bad, but I love that. So
no way. You guys are awesome. Thank you. And thanks to Tom for connecting us. It's been wonderful and always love to talk to another podcast brother from another mother there on the bottom right-hand corner, Mr. Lee Judges. So, yeah.
Oh, look at him. Oh, God. And Lee, it's been a pleasure having you back. And Lee, am I going to see you again soon?
I think as far as I know, Sunday, you two are joining us on the...
It's your channel, isn't it?
Yes, yeah. You know...
So, we're making a debut on your channel.
Up, for the appearance. You've given me the money, so I've accepted it, and you're more than welcome to come on. Looking forward to it. Listen, if you're as good as guest as I am for you, we'll do all right.
I will do my best, Lee. Based on that,
no pressure.
Wait, you wait. You've got it coming. Hopefully, it's on the back of a nice result against Leicester. That'll be good. Yeah. So,
all jokes aside, I've got to say, the Squaddies. What a great name that is, by the way. If you was, like whoever come up with that was brilliant. The Squaddies, and they're quite proud of it.
Yeah, Stephen Foot, he's got to get the credit, and there's a few of them in the house tonight too. So thanks for listening, Squaddies. We love you.
Yeah,
you're always epic.
Nice one.
Listen, the hybrid squad is a great watch. I really enjoy it. Not because Sophie's on there, Kevin as well, but they have some very, very good guests on there as well. We've
got David Hillier tonight. He's joining me after the EFL Cup stuff. So come join us if you want to have. He's still up at 10 o'clock.
Good guy, David. Very, very nice guy. Very nice.
Lee loves a name drop. He knows everyone's families. He gets on with Shaka. He just loves a name drop.
Do you know who I sit next to now?
Oh, God, here we go. Go on, drop it, Lee.
Do you want me to drop it?
Yeah, do it.
Saka's family.
Oh,
the Saka family, lovely. Yeah?
Mum, dad and brother,
Mate, if you was on Family Fortunes, you'd have them all on, wouldn't you?
I got that. And I'm invited round for tea next week, so there you go,
That's lovely.
That's a new show, isn't it? Tea with the Sackers. He's going in there.
As Kevin said.
Tea with the Sackers. Very, very nice and very, very humble, family,
All right, well, look, Lee, I will see you Sunday, hopefully, with some positivity in my veins.
Yeah, big result, big game. But I'll tell you what, we had a Super Sunday last week, didn't we? Because it was Super Sunday, West Ham, and then beating Spurs, and then Man United getting spanked. And this week it's a Super Saturday, Arsenal versus Leicester, and then after that, if we've won, what a great game to sit there and just relax and watch Manchester United versus Tottenham. If we only if we've got the 3 points.
We don't like a 12:30 kickoff historically, do we? Let's be honest.
No, we don't.
Shaheen, I'm going to leave this to you now because people have been mentioning you've bought that board back. So, they're really happy about it. Mate, listen, since that board's gone, we haven't lost. So, if that board means that Leicester beat us on Saturday, I'm coming for you. But I'm going to let you sign us off on this one.
No. I'm just grateful to both Sophie and Lee who've given us their time and they come on our channel. We're very happy to have you guys. If you guys are new, please subscribe to Arsenal Lounge, subscribe to Hybrid Squad, subscribe to Lee Judges TV. They all do great content. Please give them a watch. To obviously 10 o'clock, you said, Sophie, right? Tonight?
Yes.
10 o'clock, go on Hybrid Squad, watch. They got David Hillier. It's going to be a really good show. And I'm very happy that you guys are here and hopefully we'll have you on sometime soon.
And likewise, the invitation is open for you to come and join me in Super Kev
anytime
show as well.
Anytime. Yeah. So, all right. Well, look, that's us at the Arsenal Lounge. It's been great having these guys on. Let's hope Arsenal continue that great run against Leicester at 12:30 on Saturday. Keep an eye out for Lee's channel on Sunday. We'll be on there. That's going to be the best show he's had yet, I'm sure. And listen, I wish I had something for my loungers. You loungers, you've been great. You squaddies, thank you for joining us. This has been the Arsenal Lounge. I'm Lavanja. Peace out.